All right, so guess what? On another Innovate Coatings project. What we're working on now is the counters, poured concrete. They have the decorative edge on some of them. We have the bar overhanging the lower counter. Today's basically prep, getting stuff plasticed off. Whenever you're getting ready to coat, whatever you don't want epoxy to get on, make sure it's taped off. The reason we're not grinding is because they sealed these concrete counters with epoxy. And so we're doing epoxy over it. Anytime you're coating over existing epoxy, which you can do no problem, you just have to sand, scuff up that surface. So we have a porous profile, and then we're gonna get that mechanical bond by doing that. And so plan is to just sand as much as we can. We got some pinholing here that we're gonna wanna fill. Some of the resins filled some of it. Just the deep ones we're gonna fill, and we're probably just gonna put some paintable latex caulking in there just to fill them. It's not structural, doesn't need to be structural. Whenever you're sanding existing epoxy to coat over it, you can use 40 grit. You can use super heavy grit because we're not worried about scratches and scuffing it up because we're actually coating over the whole counter. Think anything else, Brian, prep-wise? All right, so kind of finishing up, basically prepping. Tomorrow we'll do the catch basin, show you guys how to do that, and then coat it tomorrow. Never looks pretty, but it doesn't need to. All we're trying to do is get something so when this top's dripping, it's not dripping on the counter, because if we didn't have this, we coat this, and all the drips are gonna just be dripping all over this top, and it's not gonna look good. It's gonna ruin your design, and so you gotta build something to catch those drips from going on the lower counter. Cut it, fold it. We're gonna tape it up so it holds its shape.
I'm Tim Crumlin, one of the founders of Leggari Products. We spent the last 3 years building an extensive online training for the coating industry. It's called Leggari Academy, and the best part, it's affordable. But trust me, affordable doesn't mean cheap. It took over 20,000 man hours and over $500,000 to create. There's absolutely not a better training anywhere for the coating industry. It doesn't exist. But it's not just the training. See, Leggari Products offers unparalleled support long after the training as you build your business. Here at our headquarters, we've kind of made it really clear to everyone, we're only successful if we can make you successful. So put us to the test. Join the Academy today and get a partner that actually cares about your success. Welcome to the Academy.
You're never gonna sand everything on a texture like this. And so we're gonna prep replacement primer this face because we know that primer bonds to sealed surfaces. We're gonna prep replacement primer just this crushed edge here and right over there on that window ledge. Once that dries, it'll dry quick. Then we're gonna apply our WB primer pigmented over everything because it's all been sanded, prepped, and then we'll go into basically installing the kit. So that's one extra step we're gonna do is do the prep replacement primer. So I'm gonna show you guys a trick. When you're pouring out of cans, take two napkins, fold it up. Let's see how this goes. So I got the paper towel jammed in there. How'd that work, James?
Yeah, good. Looks good to me.
I mean, the mess wasn't good, but the pour worked out good. Didn't get much in the rib there. That's the whole point of that. Good rule of thumb is always de-shed your rollers, no matter what. Look at that, already got drips going right in that catch basin. Okay, so we're ready to apply primer. The number one rule of thumb when you're doing prep replacement or primers is, Brian, what is it?
I don't know.
The number one rule is don't apply it unless you can coat over it within like an hour or two, because if you don't, like if you came in and prepped and you're like, I'm gonna prime these counters and come back the next day, primer's gonna be too hard, nothing's gonna bond, you're not gonna get a chemical bond, you're gonna have to sand, scuff it up, probably sand through in spots, have to wind up repriming. So whenever you're doing primer, make sure you're able to put epoxy over it within that 1 to 2 hour window, because we want to get that chemical bond. And that's it. So we're gonna dump beads out. We're not gonna use a roller tray. We're just gonna literally dump a bead out the middle like this. Brian's gonna start rolling it. I'll do all the cutting on the edges. And you can always add more. So start out small. We don't want to pour a big old pile and then have to like scrape some into a container. If he needs more, I'll just give him more. So we got our ash gray right here. And white will always have more pigment than the other colors. So we're gonna pour into 2.5 quarts so we can manage the beads easier, because again, we basically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate counters, and we need to divvy up all that resin kind of equally throughout the whole top. We don't want to just start dumping out big old piles out here. By the time we get back there, we don't have much product left, and then you forget about the little guy over there. You never want to forget about the little guy. So now I'm going to dump into these guys so they're more manageable. Counters, floors, pour them thicker than you think, pour them thicker than it's recommended. You're always going to get better looks. It just always turns out nicer, and especially counters with faces, you have more product to flow over and coat those faces. And so, yeah, so we're just going to do a 50-50 blend. We're going to dump product out randomly everywhere, both colors, squeegee it together, let it level out for a minute, and then probably pull the tape. We'll probably get some bleed marks and spots. So you'll notice, if we look at all the counters, we have pretty even spacing. You know, everything's got quite a bit of product on it. We got pretty even gaps everywhere. All Brian's doing is filling in the open spots, the big open spots, and we just continually add product to the open areas. And then by the time we're out, we should have an even amount dispersed throughout the top. All right, so we got everything poured out. So Brian's doing the design. I'm just going around making sure every spot's hit with resin, dealing with the faces, pulling tape as we need it. We had a couple blowouts, which we knew we would, and we're not really worried about it. I'm gonna slap some gloves on and keep going. I'm gonna pull this face first because I want the resin to flow off this face first. All right, so we're pretty much there. I can see a lot of spots under here that need to be hit. And so we're gonna be doing that, basically babysitting the edges. And then when you're dispersing or misting with denatured, we don't necessarily wanna hit the faces because the faces are a lot thinner. It'll tend to separate those faces. And then you can get some fish eyes in there or some runs. So that's kind of the plan. We're gonna finish this out, mist it with denatured alcohol. We got all the tape pulled, everything's coated, looks good. We'll probably do the matte urethane tomorrow. Okay, so we're back. Gonna finish these out with Brian, film, top coating. One thing I like to do, he likes to do, is get everything pulled, sanded, pull the plastic, get everything cleaned up, and then just retape anywhere the roller's gonna hit your backsplash or your cabinets or whatever. Just makes it easy, it looks cleaner. Then he's doing the matte urethane on this. 3/8 snap roller is what we use, roller tray. So we'll probably do this guy first. Make sure our faces are dialed so it's not dripping anymore and it'll tack up relatively quickly. And then we'll do the bottom.